Hey babes, have you been enjoying our stories but want to share your own? Do you have questions or need advice? Well, send anything you have related to any of our past episodes to our email, babesandbaddecisions@gmail.com, and we'll read it on the show. We'll share your stories and our unfiltered advice with the rest of the babes. Just let us know if you want us to keep it anonymous or not. Can't wait to hear from you.
Hey, you're listening to Babes and Bad Decisions podcast. We're babes, we make bad decisions, and we're here to tell you about them. My name's Elena.
I'm Charlotte.
And I have to let my dog out. Hold on.
Oh my God.
I'm so sorry. And we're back.
All right.
Maddie fucking smokes.
Okay, so what's our episode about today?
It's actually really creative, and I'm actually like really proud of it.
Yeah, I was
coming up
looking.
with this.
We have a Google Doc with episode ideas and like talking points and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And we were looking through to decide what we were talking about one week, and I just saw it on there, and we hadn't talked about it, and I was like, wait a second, who put this on? And Emily was like, it was me. I was like, that's creative as fuck.
It was not me. I'm not
So this week we are talking about the 7 deadly dating sins. Ooh, ah. And it's okay if you don't know the 7 deadly sins. We will go through them. Just
We'll
follow
teach
along.
you about them.
We'll teach you. All right, so let's just jump into it. So the first one is pride. And as we're going through these, I'll be like talking about specifics to dating and also like relationships and how they. Sorry, I'm like weirdly out of breath from running back.
It's totally fine.
It's that physical activity.
Yeah, it's really gone down since quarantine.
I got like
hit.
really anxious and I just sprinted.
Since quarantine. Yep.
So it's going to be based around dating and relationships, but more like serious stuff when you really know your partner or whatever.
Yeah.
So the first one is pride. And the first
not
thing
like
that came to
gay
me,
pride.
No, not like fun pride, like shitty pride. And the first thing that came to my mind when we were talking was like narcissism in relationships, like in one partner.
Yeah.
And specifically something we've talked about before, gaslighting.
Which is very popular with narcissists.
A fun
Oh,
thing.
yes,
men
correct.
like to do.
Correct. Yeah. Tune
Even
into
women,
episode
too.
10. Yeah,
I
that's true.
could gaslight a bitch.
Oh yeah, I mean everyone can.
So the things that came to my mind were narcissism and gaslighting, belittling your partner / like
Yes.
acting like you're better than them.
Yes.
People that are too proud to like apologize or admit that they've ever done anything wrong ever.
Yeah, that was the first thing that came to my mind.
Ugh, it's so frustrating.
So
and
annoying.
like people that say, which goes along with gaslighting, like it's your problem, not mine.
Yeah. Or the whole like, well, I'm sorry that it made you feel that way. Or like,
And I'm like,
I'm sorry you feel that way. Or I'm
your
sorry
face is
that's
gonna
what
feel some type of way.
I'm sorry that's what you took from it.
Yeah. Ugh, it makes me so angry. Those fucking fake apologies.
Yeah.
And then like first date things when you're like not in a relationship with them yet, but when they're so, self-absorbed,
Yes.
which I don't know if that fully fits into pride, but I'm going to make it fit.
Yeah. I think a little more overarching, like less specific, but it's really hard when someone's prideful because in order to make a serious relationship work, there's going to be like improvement that has to be done by both people and compromises that have to be made. Like no matter how great the relationship is, that's always going to happen. And so if someone's way too prideful to sit back and be like, oh, okay, like maybe it's not something super serious like, oh, like I've really, really hurt you, but it's like, oh, okay, well, I'm doing this thing that's bothering you or becoming an issue or whatever. And when you're prideful, you don't want to step back and say, oh, okay, how can I fix this? You're just like immediately like, I'm not the problem, like you were saying.
Yeah, and it totally shuts down communication when someone's too proud. And you're never going to get anything done if you can't, sit down and talk about it and see both sides.
Yeah.
Have you guys ever been like the prideful one in a relationship or even in a situation like in a fight?
I definitely have prideful tendencies, but I feel like I'm not so prideful that I'm just like blindly going with it. But I definitely notice that I like can sometimes struggle with not being immediately defensive in situations. But I don't think it's ever gotten to the point where it's like a huge issue,
No, I would say the same because I felt, especially like looking at my past relationships, I was just under the assumption that if they said I created the problem, that's what I believed. And I think that also taught me going into my new relationships that is really not the case, and that you should not feel bad for sticking up for yourself, for feeling that you didn't, like, just like sticking up for yourself. I don't know where the hell I was going with that, but yeah, I have a new mindset now. It's called sticking up for your fucking self.
Good.
And that's the name of this episode.
Yeah, well, I think there's a good balance between, like, saying, okay, yes, I'm not perfect, but also I am not the main problem here, and not being so prideful that you can't look at yourself as needing improvement.
Yeah.
So I think it's a fine balance, but I definitely think that you were a little bit more...
I was manipulated.
Yes, correct.
So
Correct.
that's the key. That's the key word there.
No, that's definitely a really fine line with me, because I remember in like my main relationship, I would definitely have a hard time admitting when I was wrong. I mean, I'm like never wrong, so it didn't happen a lot.
Right.
But
There's the problem.
obviously
It's still there.
Ding, ding, ding.
No, but there's definitely things where I just got defensive because I knew I was in the wrong.
Yeah.
Never anything so huge that it, caused a big rift. Like, we would talk about it and communicate, and like I would settle down and we could have a real conversation.
Right.
But I think it gets the best of us, especially like that defensiveness that comes up. All right, we're on to number 2, which is envy, which is, I mean, kind of obvious. So my first thing is I think of jealousy.
Right.
Was there anything in your past relationships or like current relationships that your partner did to make you feel jealous?
Yeah, I would say out of all of us,
I mean, I know
Elena has a
Elena's
lot to
elaborated
say.
on that a lot, and you don't have to completely elaborate on it, but was there anything like specifics that maybe you haven't talked about before?
I'm trying to think. Well, I think, and this wasn't anything that he was necessarily doing on purpose. Obviously, there was the, like, cheating and going outside the relationship and, like, other women part. Like, that was, his fault. But,
Anyway.
Correct.
the other aspect is, so, I haven't mentioned this much, but he was much older. He was, what, 7 years older than me?
Yeah.
So, he was in a totally different life stage than I was. I was in college, and I was pretty much a normal, struggling college student. And so it was definitely a little weird to be dating someone who had, like, their own job and career and was going off to work on cruise ships and traveling the world and had his own money and doing all these things. And I was not in that position in my life. Yeah. And I wouldn't say it ever made me jealous. Like, I never sat there and thought, oh, I really wish that I was able to do that right now. But it definitely was just, I don't know, it was an interesting facet of the relationship, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I would also agree with that, because I also dated someone older while I was in college, and they had like started their life technically that I'm still figuring out.
Right.
And it's just it's a whole different perspective, because first of all, the distance makes it hard, because just there's that whole gap that you really just have no security over. And then also they have like made their group, and I feel jealousy comes in when you don't really know that group. Like, you don't know who these people are. You don't know what they're going to try when you're not there. And I think that changes things a lot. And I mean, if jealousy comes out of it, like, I don't blame you.
Right.
But it's something that you just have to talk about and just face up front. And just, that's where the trust comes in with the relationship. And that's where trust should overpower jealousy.
And if it doesn't, you have bigger problems.
Yes.
Yes, correct.
Correct.
Yeah, I think the times where I felt jealous, like in my main relationship at least, weren't anything that my partner did. It was more like if I ever felt threatened. So if it seemed like someone was, coming on to him or like encroaching on my, quote unquote territory.
Yeah.
Like, that's when I would get jealous, not because of anything he had done, but just because I was like, I felt threatened.
Yeah.
And then we've kind of moved into the, like, it's another point of being envious of your partner's life or traits or friends.
Right.
Yeah.
And one thing I was kind of jealous about was his time, I guess, because I would see him. When we started dating, I was a senior in high school and he was in college, and I was kind of jealous of like all the time that his friends got to spend with him, because he was an hour away from me and we didn't see each other like all the time.
Yeah.
So I would be like, well, dang, I want to be hanging out with him right now. And I get like a little a little jealous about that.
Yeah, for sure.
Like I was talking to my friend earlier about it, and she said one of the things that made her, you know, envious or jealous was the way her ex used to talk about other people. Like, he had become friends with this girl at his work, and he would be like, yeah, she's so awesome, she's so cool, blah blah blah. He was this kind of hype man for her, but she never felt like he was a hype man for my friend.
Right.
He was a hype man about his new friend, but never about, you know, his girlfriend at the time. And she was really envious, like, well, if you can say this about someone you just met, why can't you say the same for me?
Yeah.
And then also, you know, possessiveness, which kind of goes with jealousy, which is really dangerous.
Yes.
Because, you know, the fun little, like, oh, I'm a little jealous because that guy flirted with you, versus, like, you are mine and you're my property, and I'm going to, like, tell you what to wear, where to go, what to do, like... That's too much. Like, that's a red flag.
With possessiveness, because, like, I would say there were moments where my ex was possessive, but I feel like it comes in levels. Because I personally, like, I'm in a relationship. I like the I'm yours, you're mine kind of deal. But it gets a little hectic when it comes to, oh, you're mine, you can't do this.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like you're abusing what comes with a relationship. And I feel like that's where you got to set boundaries.
Yeah. I think it's kind of like you were saying, there's a difference between... you know, the classic monogamy idea that we have in society of, like, you know, being, I don't know, kind of quote unquote belonging to the other person in your relationship, and then having that turn into being controlling because you view that person as yours. And so it's, you have to understand, like, yes, this person is my partner and we are in this relationship, but... you know, I don't control them. They are not my property. They are still a human being. And I see a lot, especially in college with young relationships. I have known so many young women, especially in college, that are like, yeah, my boyfriend doesn't, like, let me do this, or, like, he would really hate it if I did this, or whatever.
Like, post that picture, or I can't go out without him, or he doesn't like when I drink with certain people.
And it's really small, and it feels like a small thing when you're in that, but at the same time, it's like...
Yeah, no, 100%.
They shouldn't be doing that.
Exactly.
Yeah, one of my close friends went through this, and, you know, he had this mindset that he was... living up to what made her feel comfortable instead of remembering what he enjoys. And yeah, I respect that. That's really respectful, and it shows that you care about her a lot. But at the end of the day, I asked him, I go, well, what makes you happy? Because if that makes you happy, she should know in a relationship that that comes with you.
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's not an easy talk. It's not fun, but you need to know that just because you're dating someone doesn't mean you can change them.
Yeah.
So.
And that's, I don't know if this was that friend that you were talking about the other day or something, but you were saying something about that of one of your friends, like their boyfriend or girlfriend wouldn't let them do this or didn't like when they did this. And my response was, well, it sounds like they need to get a new boyfriend or girlfriend. Which sounds really...
it's hard,
cold and harsh, but at the same time, if it's true, you are someone who enjoys going out and drinking and partying and you know, smoking if it's legal or doing whatever, and your partner isn't a fan of that, even if they're not super controlling about it, if it makes them super uncomfortable, but that's something that you enjoy doing, then at the end of the day, you're not the best fit for each other. You know, they can go out and find someone who doesn't enjoy doing those things, so it's not an issue, and you can go out and find someone who enjoys doing those things or doesn't care at all, and you'll both be happier in the long run. You know?
Exactly.
I think the hardest part about, you know, for not only young women but young men and, you know, just young people in college is, like, finding your autonomy and, like, holding on to it, because like, college is really all about finding yourself, and when you find somebody that you really like, it can be really exciting, but it's those little things that kind of start, like, oh, I'd rather you not wear those shorts out. And it's like, okay, well, that's like a little thing I can do to make my partner happy. And then it's like, well, I don't like your friends, well, I don't like you going out, and it's just little by little. And, like, the thing you have to remember is you are so young. Like, do not settle, like, when you're 18, 19 years old, because first of all, it's not going to fucking last, because you guys, your lives line up differently. And second of all, it's not worth wasting these college years trying to please someone that isn't you.
And giving up on experiences that you actually want to be having.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because there's a difference between, hey, I care about you, I feel like you're being unsafe, and, hey, I don't like this, so you can't do it.
Right. Or you shouldn't, or I'm going to guilt you into not doing it.
Exactly. Because fuck that. And
another thing is that comes into play with that is that if you're in a relationship and you hear that, oh, no, you can do it, but you know deep down after you do it, it's going to be like they're going to change in a sense, or kind of like...
It's going to turn into an
argument
fight. Or
that's even worse.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Dump them. Yeah. Be done.
Goodbye.
Because you will find someone that, if you're a huge partier, you can find someone that likes to party and have fun. If you're not a huge partier, you can find someone that likes to do so many other things.
Right.
Like, there's so many people in college.
Yeah.
And one thing that... I think of with this too is my main boyfriend, my main ex, he had been cheated on in his relationship before me. Right. And at the beginning of our relationship, he was super, super jealous. Yeah. And would, he would be like, who is that guy? Who are you texting? Whatever. And I was always super open with him because I wanted to like reassure him that, I wouldn't cheat on you. I'm not going to do that. I'm not your ex. Right. And I was like glad to be like, yeah, read my text with my friend. Like, I don't have anything to hide from you.
Right.
Kind of thinking, that if I show him the first couple times, he'll like, learn to trust, because that's a really hard thing to go through, obviously, like learning to trust somebody after being cheated on. Yeah. But it went on for like 2.5, like 3 years of our like 5-year relationship. And that's something I look back on and I've talked to him about, being like, that wasn't okay. Like, you needed to realize that I was not your ex. I never cheated on you. I wasn't going to cheat on you.
Right.
Like, and with things like that, like, if they're going to cheat on you, they're going to do it, and like, fuck them, and you don't want to be with them anyway. But you don't like try to stop someone from cheating on you. And this is a little off topic, but
that's okay.
I mean, this isn't just a podcast, it's our therapy sessions.
Correct.
So tip your therapist, kids. Tip us.
Tip us. Patreon.com
/babes and dads
content.
The levels are so low. There's only a couple bucks a month, and it would really be great. But then kind of finishing off with envy is, we've talked about this a little bit before, but trying to make your partner jealous is not good either.
Correct.
So have you ever tried to make your partner jealous while you were still together?
Nope.
No, I haven't.
No.
Good. Okay, good.
Good job.
It's funny, my ex, I didn't ever really have to try.
Oh, damn.
Like, he was just kind of, jealous about certain things. And I was like, well, I'm not, like, trying to make you jealous. There's nothing about this situation that I'm, like, purposely doing.
Yeah.
But, so, yeah, I've never really had to try.
If you're trying to make him jealous, something's off.
Yeah, don't do that.
Something's off.
Correct. All right, moving on to number 3. It's gluttony. And this is a little bit of a stretch, because gluttony kind of means overindulging, and usually in the food sense.
Right.
But we're going to switch it up here.
Why? I like
well,
food.
Switcheroony.
Definitely. I like gluttony when it comes to fucking food.
Guilty.
Yes, but talking about gluttony in the sense of just wanting more and more from your partner, more time, more attention, more gifts, and wanting, I guess, more than they can give you, as in, you're never satisfied. And I'm going to ask you guys, I am asking you currently, what kind of problems do you think gluttony or always wanting more can create in a relationship?
Well, Larry, Gary.
Yes.
No, this is probably one of the biggest reasons that my ex and I started falling out. He was able, one of my love languages is gifts. I love gifts. I love meaningful gifts, but I also just love genuine gifts.
Like receiving or giving? Receiving
gifts. And it got to a point where I expected it of him to, like, when I would visit, make the most out of it, like, spend as much money as possible, blah, blah, blah. And it, like, broke us because the gifts started losing value and it became an expectation rather than a gesture.
Right.
So if you find yourself in that place, if you're lucky enough to find yourself, because I didn't realize until afterwards, like, take a pause.
Right.
Take a pause and realize that you shouldn't expect anything along the lines of gifts or anything like that from your partner. It should be more out of like love and spontaneous and surprise.
Well, yeah, kind of going off of that, and not even gifts specifically, but I have learned in relationships that I think expectations are one of the easiest things that can break a relationship at the end of the day.
100%.
Oh, yeah.
Because if you have this great person and they're doing all these great things for you and you feel really loved, but then those things, you start expecting them, you are going to get let down at some point. And that doesn't even have to be gifts. That can be small gestures. It can be, words of encouragement, whatever it may be. If it starts to become an expectation, you will eventually be let down. And then you find yourself in this really weird spot where you're feeling really disappointed. And, it may not have even been something that the other person was, intentionally trying to like let you down on. I don't know. I've noticed like with my current boyfriend, like he does a lot of really great small gestures, and I've had to kind of check myself at certain points where I do start to kind of expect them and take them for granted, and I have to kind of like give myself a reality check and be like, these are not things that you should be expecting from him. It's really great that he does them, or if he does them, but they're not things that he has to be doing for you. And I think it's a good thing to get in the habit of doing. It doesn't even have to be romantic relationships. It can be all of your relationships in general.
Just take a reality check real quick.
Yeah.
That's a good way to put it. And related to that, I feel like there ends up being almost a power imbalance because one person feels like they have to work harder and harder to please the other partner, and the partner is always the partner that is gluttonous, that wants more and more, feels like they have more power because if the other partner doesn't want to lose them, then they're going to work harder and harder and harder to keep that.
Right.
And I definitely experienced that in with my main ex, because I got used to the gestures and the gifts and the traveling and like all of that. Yeah. And that's when I started to feel let down a little bit. Yeah, unfulfilled. And it's a good thing to check yourself before you wreck yourself.
Yeah, because it's super easy, especially I feel like that happens most often once you start getting out of that honeymoon phase, because the honeymoon phase is like, oh my god, they do all these great things, it's really awesome, I'm not expecting them at this point, so I just love every single thing that happens. And then you get into that rhythm and then you start expecting them, and that's, I think, when it usually hits, is that honeymoon phase is gone, and now you're like, well, wait, where are all of these things?
So.
100%. And then to our fourth one, fourth is greed, which kind of ties in. But I see this as more, being selfish within a relationship, needing all of their time. And if they don't spend it with you, being upset at them. Right. And, making sure that your needs are met, but ignoring your partner's needs, whether it's emotionally or physically. And so do you feel like you've ever been greedy in your past relationships or in your current one?
So I would definitely look back and say I was greedy at times. I think it was the distance that made me greedy. Yeah. Because I realized that we didn't have all day to talk. So at some points I kind of expected him to put everything down to talk to me. And I look back and that was really greedy. But then there's also another side of the selfishness, like, yes, putting yourself before them and stuff like that. But also from my past relationship, it got really bad when he got very invested in work, and it felt as at times that he was dating his work before me. And that's not really him being like, oh, I'm better than you, or like, no, I want this, like, and being selfish in a sense, but it became like I was
your
the
priorities.
I was second priority, instead of like the relationship coming first,
which is not fun.
No, it wasn't a good time, but you know what, we got past it.
I can agree. I think in terms of distance, there were definitely times where I was guilty of, like you said, being greedy with time. But I wouldn't say that I was ever super greedy, or I don't remember any big instances where I made him feel super bad about it. But it also plays into the fact that there were a lot of trust issues and stuff in that relationship. So there were definitely times where I was trying to have more control than I actually did, just because I didn't trust him in certain situations. So
Yeah, I definitely have been greedy in past relationships, and it's like you said earlier, those expectations of, you know, whether I expected it in my last relationship or that person had, you know, unknowingly created those expectations for myself.
Right.
It was, you know, well, why aren't you texting me all day? Why don't you call me? Why don't you spend more time with me? You know, and definitely that selfish aspect of, you know, trying to make sure all my needs are met, but not making sure that their needs are met. Mm-hmm. And, you know, sometimes not communicating about what they needed, but the conversation was always about what I needed.
Right.
And do you feel like in your past relationships that you've been the greedy one, or do you feel like the other person has been more greedy?
You know, I would say I'm 50-50. I think I was greedy in other ways that he wasn't.
Yeah.
And he was greedy in ways I wasn't. Where he was done with college. He had a life, like work was his priority, which makes sense. And I look back at it while I was in college. So I was like, I want to talk to you. So you need to put everything down. So, you know, 50-50.
Yeah, I would probably be a good 50-50 as well. In different ways.
I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh yeah, I'm fucking perfect, bitch. No.
Yeah, I feel like
I fucked up.
My main ex, I was definitely more greedy, but with my more recent ex, I feel like it was equal.
Yeah.
But then also, so I was thinking about greed in the traditional sense, like monetarily.
Oh, yeah.
A little bit, yeah.
No, I 100%
well,
was.
both of your exes made a lot of money.
Yeah, considering how much my ex made, I really didn't feel bad about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I was definitely a little bit greedy at times. I mean, it got to the point where in the beginning of our relationship, he always paid for everything, and it was very much like a, don't worry, I got it.
Sugar daddy situation.
And then towards the end, there were times where he was like in between contracts or whatever, and he would get a little annoyed that I would just always expect him to pay for everything, which I can totally understand, and I learned that from that relationship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it was also like the trips. I think sometimes I took for granted the trips that he would take or the trips that he would pay for me to go on to see each other. So yeah, I was a little guilty of the monetary greed.
Oh, I definitely was, but I got a Louis Vuitton bag, so. No, yeah. But I think that also it hurt me too, because I was like, I expected it and I had nothing to worry about. And I think I lost concept of that this is a 50-50 relationship. Yeah. And I totally lost that. So now I think that means a lot more going into whatever the future holds.
Agree.
Well, I don't have any rich exes, so
we need to get you one of those.
Oh yeah. Well, I'd like a rich partner and then a rich ex.
we'll just get you to date a rich guy just to
date
have
my ex.
a rich ex.
No, but I want to reap the benefits. It doesn't help me to have a rich ex, but
okay, no, that's fair.
But
unless you get like child support.
No,
wow,
thanks.
we're really
that's too
we're really
far.
out here trying to find the sugar daddies.
Please knock on wood. I don't want to think about that. Well, yeah, my most recent ex, he liked to pay for things. He liked to buy me gifts, and I felt so weird about it because I was always taught, you know, if someone wants to do something nice for you, you have to reject it first, or else it's not polite.
Right.
So I'd be like, I mean, he took me he like bought me jeans at American Eagle, and I was like, no, you don't have to do that.
Yeah.
But inside she's like, fuck yeah, let me buy two. You know that deal?
No, it's this is how I know that I was guilty of this. So my ex did that a decent amount. He would buy me clothes, lingerie, whatever. Mm-hmm. And at the beginning, I was the same way. I was like, no, like, you really don't have to. And I was very genuine about it. But I found myself towards the end of the relationship, and I can't say I feel super guilty about this, but
you deserve it.
I found myself towards the end of the relationship, if I was out shopping, and again, distance, so he was not always there, and I found something and I really wanted it, but I knew I couldn't afford it, I would like Snapchat him a picture.
I remember
and be
when
like,
you did this with me.
I would just like be like, oh my god, look how cute or whatever, and he'd be like, oh, are you gonna buy, like, knowing that he was gonna be like, oh, are you gonna buy it? And I'd be like, no, it's too expensive. And just knowing, no, I got it for you. You really don't have to do that.
Oh my god,
no, it's fine. I don't need it. I totally did not Snapchat you that picture on purpose.
Oh yeah,
and
obviously.
It was very subconscious, but I know that I did it knowing that that was going to be his response.
Oh, 100%.
So
I mean, if you No, I'm not going to finish that sentence. Don't do that.
No.
But honestly, now I find myself reaping the benefits of my ex who has more money than my other ex, because we're still really good friends, and I've come down friends with benefits, and I've come down to visit, and he always buys me food and stuff like that, and he offered to fly me down to Florida for the weekend before my birthday. And because he came and visited with Charlotte and I when we spent a weekend together, and he was like, what's your dream gift? I was like, I don't know, maybe a trip, I don't know. But then I was like, my dream gift is a trip. If you really want me to come visit, just buy my plane ticket. And he is.
And here we are.
No, I love rich exes, because I've always said this. I was like, if I ever get arrested, obviously I call my parents, but depending on what I do, I can't bank that they'd bail me out.
Yeah.
They might let me sit in it for a minute.
Right.
So I would call my ex and be like, yo, I got into this really bad situation. And to this day, I think I'd be fine. He would bail me out. I'd owe him that, whatever.
I think he would too. But the funny thing is, she knows not to call Elena or I, because we'll be like,
oh no,
I don't have any money. Have fun. Alrighty, moving on to number 5, which is lust, which is pretty straightforward. But I want to look at 2 aspects, which is lust within the relationship and without the relationship.
Outside
of the relationship, yeah. So within the relationship is a little, I guess, less obvious. But it's things like not respecting your partner's physical boundaries, or only having a relationship based off of sex or those physical needs, and not opening up emotionally to that person.
Yeah.
And have you guys ever experienced either of those things?
I am half of those things.
That's true.
No, but a real relationship, not like a fuck buddies relationship, because that is perfect.
No.
Well, the second half of that was not opening up, which is the definition of Charlotte. So
our little turtle.
No, I swear. I was best friends with my ex, and I still held back a lot.
Yeah.
So definitely could say that's me. Physical? Nah. I respect that.
Yeah.
I don't mess with that.
Words are hard. I would not say that I dealt with that specifically or exactly in that way, but there was a point in my last relationship where his sex drive and my sex drive were not aligning.
Who had more sex drive?
Who do you think?
I honestly don't know. That's why I'm asking.
Him.
Oh.
And
but
I still to this day am not sure.
Person I know.
I know. That's why I was like, I really don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
I still to this day am not sure if it was more of a mental. I think it was more of a mental thing.
It definitely was 100%.
But
probably stress.
It's also hard to say. I was talking about this the other day. I was like, I saw this TikTok.
Of course.
And it made me think about how I don't actually know my body, my sex drive, my emotions, my anything off of birth control. This is a weird thing, and I won't go into it. But
oh wait, same.
Yeah, and so there was a point in the relationship where I thought, okay, maybe my birth control is fucking with this, and maybe, and looking back, it was definitely more mental, but
still a valid thought.
Right, and it never became a huge issue, but it definitely was a thing that we had to go through, because it's hard when you're in a relationship and the other person really wants to have sex and you're just really not feeling it, because then it's, okay, well, do I do it to, try and make them happy, because, I do love them and I do enjoy being intimate with them, but you shouldn't do that, because then that's giving up on, your...
And you're not addressing, the main issue of why you're not in the mood, and you're just...
Right. And and then it makes them feel a little weird and unwanted.
And you're sacrificing your boundaries, which is not cool.
And so it just becomes this weird walking on eggshells type thing. And there was a period where that was a little bit of an issue. But it never became something where he was pressuring me or going past my sexual boundaries or anything. It just was kind of a weird thing to deal with, which I feel like is actually probably more popular or common than we think.
Yeah, I experienced the exact same thing in my with my main ex towards the end.
Yeah.
And because we had a really good sex life. He was my first, and so I felt really safe with him. We experimented. Like, I could kind of do whatever, like, we could do whatever we wanted because we felt, safe and comfortable with each other. And then towards the end, I just wasn't into it. I didn't want to. I didn't have any sex drive, and I think it was mental too, because I was questioning, if I wanted to be with him or not. I was, but then when we were on breaks and stuff, we would have sex all the time.
Yep.
And it was the worst because I still didn't know where we stood, but I would be like, come over. Or, I'm drunk, I'm leaving the bar, meet me at my place. And he would.
Yeah.
Which is a terrible thing.
Yeah. But, and again, I think that's 100% the mental part of it, because now you're not together, you're not expected to. It's kind of more exciting and more fun.
Oh, it was so much more exciting and fun.
Yeah. I went through the same thing. It was like after we had broken up, we had sex a couple times after, and I was way more into it those times than I was while we were previously dating, like a couple weeks before, you know?
Well, no, because last summer, I totally agree with both of you, because last summer I was hooking up with my ex. Dear God, help me. But it was so much better because we realized that the relationship was not for us. Yeah. But obviously we're still attracted to each other.
Yeah. Right.
So now that you have gotten rid of half of the equation that you were not into, anything becomes more attractive.
That's very true.
Yeah. So, because I would literally go there, fuck, and then I would go about my merry day. Yep. And I'd feel great. And I'd have nothing holding me back or nothing to worry about.
No strings.
Or nothing to be upset about. Yeah. So
or
it's
not
like
as many strings.
You're fucking living your life just without a toxic person.
Yeah.
Agreed. I like it. All right.
I like this energy.
Yeah, I do. And then lust outside of the relationship, obviously, cheating, talking about other people to your partner, texting other people, whatever, fucking sucks. Don't do that.
Don't do that.
And that's pretty straightforward unless you guys have anything to say on that.
Yeah, it fucking sucks. Don't do that.
Yeah, correct.
My biggest thing is if you... I guess some people are ballsy enough, but if you don't want them to hear about it, if you don't feel comfortable saying it to them, in front of them reading it, them seeing it, whatever it may be, probably shouldn't be doing it.
Correct.
Yep.
Have either of you ever lusted outside of your relationship?
Yes.
Ooh. Would you like to elaborate?
Every time I go to fucking Publix, man.
No,
the fuck? You think I'm there to get groceries?
Oh my goodness, that was funny.
Wait, when you're what?
Oh, so we were in Acapelles, and this UK all-male group came to visit, and they sang for us, and of course they're all British, so we were like, and
so much sex appeal.
We were both in a relationship, and we hung out with our boyfriends together, the four of us, after they had visited, and her and I the whole time were just like so frustrated, like they're going out tonight, they're like gonna stay at our friend's house, and we just wanna
we were talking to them after they performed for us and we hung out, and they were being super flirty, and it was one of those situations where I thought to myself, and we talked about it, and she said the same thing. If I wasn't in a relationship, I would have taken advantage of that situation.
Absolutely.
So quickly.
Yeah.
But we were, we held back.
Yeah.
But I remember driving home from that rehearsal, and both of us were like, God damn it. Fuck. If we weren't in relationships.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And
granted, I think at the time, we were both a little bit unhappy or questioning or whatever in the relationship, which is why we were like, fuck, if I wasn't dating this guy.
I was gonna ask like where you guys were in the relationship, because when I was in my relationship, I don't know, I'd never felt that way when I was in a relationship.
I only felt it like twice, really, and it was when they visited, because it would have been so easy to like get with any of those guys, plus they were British, like come on. And another time I was studying abroad, and I was walking down the streets of Budapest, I don't know, and I see the most gorgeous man I have ever seen in my entire life. I was like fucking love struck. He's walking towards me across this bridge. I'm walking towards him. My jaw literally drops. I stop talking to my friend who is still talking at me, and I unabashedly stared at him as we passed each other, and he stared back at me and he gave me this smirk, and I'm like,
My advice would be not to study abroad in a relationship
no,
unless they're coming with you.
No, and I didn't like. Obviously, we just passed each other on the street, and it was like a wow moment. But it was like that and the British guys. But actually, my friend, he was studying abroad, and he was dating his girlfriend, and they were fighting a lot. And he'd become really good friends with this girl that he was studying abroad with. Mm-hmm. And she like basically told him, you know, break up with your girlfriend so we can fuck.
Break up with your girlfriend.
But I was like, oh shit, she sounds like a bad friend. But also they were fighting, so I'm like, maybe you should have just done it.
Right.
No, maybe you just shouldn't go to abroad.
Shouldn't study abroad.
In a relationship.
Yeah.
All right. Any closing thoughts on lust?
It's okay to lust, just don't act on it.
Correct.
Retweet.
All right, moving on to 6 is sloth, which is essentially just being lazy.
Oh
this one was
my
funny.
God, I fucking hate this one.
Why?
I fucking hate lazy people.
Oh.
They're my biggest pet peeve in the book.
Yeah, like I think of it as being lazy and not trying in a relationship.
Yeah.
And you know, getting
then
too
you're just
comfortable.
lazy.
Yeah, no, and that getting too comfortable, which we talked about earlier, with those expectations, and I feel like we can focus this more, I guess, on our sex life. I was talking to my roommate earlier, and she said it felt like in one of her last relationships, like the sex was just the same every time. There was nothing new. There was no, you know, trying new things or switching it up. It was just, you know, the same formula every time, and it worked, but it wasn't exciting.
Right. That's when you try anal.
Jesus Christ.
I mean, you could literally
Or
just
not.
do it, you know, 5
in different
feet
places or different
across
positions.
the room.
You can add toys.
That would be enough.
You can add a partner if it's consensual between you and your other partner. Like,
Or anal.
There's so many things to do. Anal's an option. I'm just saying, don't jump into that first thing when you
My
get
ex
bored.
and I at one point had sex in like outside. We were actively
outside.
Yes, we were actively trying to switch it up a little bit, and so we went to this country club area with a big golf course and the forest behind. So we drove there at night and had sex in the forest. And was it the best sex ever? No, we were in a forest, but you know, it was exciting and fun and different.
Oh yeah.
Just don't be lazy.
Yeah, that's Charlotte hates that.
If you have no motivation, if you sit at home playing video games all day,
Yeah.
just a hard left on Tinder,
Yeah.
please. Just
Well,
left me.
And I think in terms of in your relationship and putting effort into your relationship, kind of on the opposite side of what I was saying earlier in terms of expecting something from the other person. Yes, you shouldn't expect something from the other person, but I do think it's really important to try to like, as it's usually said, you know, keep chasing the other person or never stop trying to win them over. It's really easy to get past that honeymoon phase and say, okay, well, I have them, I'm comfortable, I'm secure in the relationship, so now, you know, I have other things to be worrying about, so I stop putting the time and energy and thought into the relationship. And that's really easy to do. So it's like, yeah, you shouldn't expect things from your partner, but at the same time, if they're really just not putting any effort into it anymore, then that's a conversation that you should have.
Oh yeah. And like not just in the relationship, but with your partner, if they become like a sloth just in their life, if they don't have a ton of drive, if they, you know, aren't actively pursuing things as well, that's super unattractive. Yeah. And so, you know, even with not just pursuing you, but pursuing, you know, betterment for their life, because, you know, if you guys are going to have a future together, you both want the best life possible. Right. So that can be really unattractive. And gaining that relationship weight, you know, if you're just like both laying around, eating, watching TV, like you stop doing new things together, you stop doing anything together, you know, that kind of
He was the reason I gained weight, bitch. Every time I visited him.
You are almost always going to gain relationships.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God.
But
so impossible.
It is the worst fucking thing.
And it's just the difference between being comfortable with someone and being too comfortable with someone is kind of a fine line, and it depends on the relationship, obviously. Yeah. But do you guys feel like you were ever too comfortable in your past relationships, and where did that tip off?
Yeah, I think I think a little bit, especially the times when he was here. I think it was hard for us to do like new things. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think especially the times he was here, it was really easy for us to get into a rut and just kind of be lazy about it. So like, yeah, a little bit.
Well, this is where I would say distance actually helps, because every time you see each other in person, you have that like instant spark again.
Yeah,
because it's been so long since you've been able to do stuff.
Right.
While I would think it's harder if they're like living right in the town you are,
or in the room that you are.
Yeah, in the room.
Yeah.
I think you just lose that spark at times. So,
well, I think it's really important at that point to set aside like special time, because it's you know, even with my current boyfriend, we're, especially now with quarantine, and we're together a lot of the time. Granted, we both work, which is nice, so we do get time away from each other. But there's a difference between, yes, we're in the same room doing our own thing, we're sitting next to each other, yes, we're together, but I think it's really important to still set aside time where you're like, okay, we're gonna, on this day at this time,
date night.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, we're gonna have this time to specifically put our energy towards each other. We're gonna do something fun and different and new, and that'll be like special time. And there have been multiple times where my boyfriend and I now, it's like, yes, I've been with you, but it's like I don't feel close to you. You know what I mean? Like, I haven't felt close to you lately, and it's because there's been so many other things going on. So yeah, we're together, but you know, you don't feel close to that person. So it's easy to fall into those ruts.
Oh yeah. And I feel like with the energy thing, you made a good point. It's when you stop putting that energy in, you know, and special energy towards your partner of, you know, trying to impress them, or even if you guys are, you know, sitting around watching TV together, if you're connecting over, you know, a show that you both love, or you're binging, or, you know, playing video games together, or like going on adventures together, it can be something simple, but it's all about the intention behind it. And if you guys are just, you know, doing it out of habit, or doing it out of, you know, oh, well, we're together, so let's just like turn on the TV and whatever, then I think that's where it becomes too comfortable. And I think that's kind of what ended my relationship with my main ex, was that I felt too comfortable. It didn't feel special anymore. It didn't feel like great, you know?
Yeah.
And
all right,
finally,
bitch, hit us with that number 7 wrath.
That's it. That's the whole bullet point. Is Charlotte yelling wrath like that. And we're done. I'm done. Thanks for coming.
And we're out. Mic drop. Good day.
Okay, but there's wrath in the traditional sense, which is, you know, abuse, angry outbursts, explosive relationships. And then there's wrath in other ways, which is, you know, holding on to grudges, you know, not letting go of past arguments,
passive aggressive,
taking revenge, you know, passive aggressiveness, doing things to get a rise out of your partner. And those suck, so don't do them.
Oh, I did that all the time.
Oh my god, I know.
You're really bad about
that. I'm
Terrible.
So good
don't
at it.
Don't date Charlotte, everyone.
I was a little bit guilty of the
wrath
of the kind of holding grudges and not letting go. Granted, they were things that I probably was super, you know, they were things that I probably should have been holding on to, you know. But anyhow, I was definitely guilty of that. But he was also way more guilty of the first half.
And he was, oh my gosh.
Especially towards the end of the relationship.
Yeah, I remember just driving in the car with you guys to go get a piercing or something.
Yeah, we were coming home from there.
And he just
having some really
blew up on you. And I was like, I'm gonna kill him. I'm gonna hurt this man.
Yeah. Yeah, it was, I mean, it got to the point where about a week before we actually broke up, we were having an argument about other women. Basically, I was still expressing concern about him talking to other people or feeling like he was cheating or whatever, which he was. And and his response was super mad and defensive about how I could ever still think this, and this was such my problem that I was still mad about it, and like,
what a
I needed to
fucking
get
piece
over
of
it.
shit.
Can you tell I'm fucking triggered?
bitch.
Anyhow, we got in a big argument about it, and he told me to leave because it was kind of a thing in our relationship where it was very much like a get out. And we would have like the big explosive like argument, and then the expectation was that after it was over, everything was just gonna be fine.
Sounds healthy.
Or whatever. Yeah, super unhealthy. So he was like, get out, and I looked at him for a second, and I was like, he's just like playing fucking games right now. So I was like, okay. So I literally got my ass up from the couch, walked back to the room, and started gathering all of my belongings from the apartment. And he was like, what are you doing? And I'm like, well, you want me to leave, so I'm leaving. Like, I'm actually fucking leaving.
Yeah.
And he, like, did not like that. And so out of his insecurity and anger and not knowing how to process his emotions, he had an angry outburst where he, like, ripped off one of the cabinets in the bathroom.
Just a little
and,
angry outburst.
Threw the door into the wall so the, like, handle went through the drywall.
He had a Kyle moment.
Then pushed me up against the wall with his hand around my neck. And I was like fucking terrified at this point. I was like, all right, this is like super not cool. You super crossed a line. And basically he stopped, and I was like, I literally told him, he was like, why would you leave? Like, whatever. And I was like, look at yourself. Why would anyone want to stay? And
Correct.
he like that like got him, and so I gathered all my things and I left, and I called Emily and I cried in the car with her, because at that point I was like, well, now I know I have to fucking break up with him.
Yeah.
But I don't want to. Anyhow.
Anywho.
So if that ever happens to you, just break up with him. But I ended up breaking up with him a week later because I found out he was cheating on me. So
You
Just
confirmed.
nice cherry
You
on
just
top.
confirmed
Nice
that he
full
was
circle.
cheating. Oh, yeah. He was a fucking
we checked all the
diamond.
boxes.
He's a, you know...
But again, that didn't happen until, 2 years into the relationship.
Yeah.
Granted, there were small things leading up to it, but it's like, it really does, it progresses,
Yeah.
It's
like,
I'm sure if I had stayed in the relationship, I'm sure worse things would have happened, and that's how women and other people get into physically
trapped.
abusive relationships.
Yeah.
Because you think, oh, it wasn't that bad,
Yeah.
Because I found myself thinking, well, like, I'm not bleeding, I'm not bruised, I don't have marks on me, like, it could have been so much worse.
Yeah.
But that's not the fucking point. You know what I mean?
It was, yeah. And with that, people, in those situations, like, victims essentially find themselves like excusing away what the person is doing. Like, you would get really defensive about him, even after you had come to us and told us like the things that he had done. You were still defensive because it was like not more about protecting him, but like protecting yourself and why you stayed. But then a week later, we were rid of him forever, and it was the best.
Yeah.
Switching to
Never
a little
looked
bit. Yeah. Thank God.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, you're good. Switching to a little bit lighter. Are there things that your partner did that made you irrationally angry?
Yes. Oh, well, maybe not. Maybe not irrationally.
But like,
oh, wait.
Okay.
Actually, I remember, and my mom said this thing, and then I'll let you guys talk.
Okay.
So I remember probably about a year into our relationship, my mom was like, oh, well, is there anything that he does that like kind of annoys you or whatever? Because we were kind of past that honeymoon stage.
Yeah.
And I was like, the way this man stirs made me so fucking angry. I cannot, and everyone that I've told this, they're like, what? Like, what the fuck does that even mean? He just stirred things like so aggressively.
Like he's beaten eggs.
Like unnecessarily aggressively, and it would get like messy. And I was just like, why? I was like, you literally don't stir things around me because it literally makes me like upset.
Sir, calm down.
I remember my mom being like, I feel like that's probably not him stirring. I feel like that's probably like something else. And looking back, I'm like,
surprise!
She's probably fucking right. The way that man stirred things just made me, oh my God, it made me so mad. That was it.
Yeah. Mine was snoring. Like, if I would not let my ex fall asleep before me, because if he started snoring, I would just get so angry. I would like shake because I couldn't fall asleep if he started snoring, and I would shove him onto his side, because if he was laying on his back, he would snore like no other.
Yeah.
And I had to be like, you cannot fall asleep before me, or I will wake you up and make you sit up until I fall asleep.
Yep. Ugh. I feel like that's not irrational, though. I don't know. You can't sleep.
Yeah. I mean, I could fall asleep eventually, but it was just...
No,
that was one of the things that made me just so mad. And I was like, I know you can't control it, but I just want to smother you with a pillow when you do this. Like, I just want to. I just want to. And then... Oh, sorry, Shar. Go ahead.
Oh, I was actually going to say something about the angry outbursts and triggering fights.
Oh, yeah. Go for it.
Because my ex and I were a special relationship where we were two turtles that would keep everything in. Mm-hmm. And if it came out, everything came out.
Became angry turtles.
Like a volcano.
Yeah. So, like, he would have angry outbursts, but he would never hurt me. He would kind of, like, just let it out on himself. And then we'd both, whenever we were angry, I'd be like, give me some time. Like, I need to just be by myself. I don't want to see your name on my screen anymore. Like, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
But if there was, like, a time where, like, I had a lot of stuff built up and I knew that he did too, I would aggressively, like, get it out of him. I would basically, I would say everything that I knew that would get him angry or upset.
Yeah.
Because, like, I'm a person that, I'm like, if you have all of this shit built up, let's fucking put it on the table and let's fucking deal with it right now, right here.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'd have to plan these things out. So if I knew I was staying the night, I kind of would start kind of annoying him and kind of get it out. And then by the end of the night, we're just... like, I'm sitting there and he's screaming at me and I'll scream at him, but then after that we're all good. Like,
again,
so unhealthy.
Sounds healthy.
God, that's so unhealthy.
It just would just lay right out there.
Uh-huh.
First of all, you should not be fighting with someone like that you're not dating. It's not fucking worth it.
Yeah.
Second of all, I have learned in my relationships, not only with, you know, romantic relationships, but with my family, you fight differently with people that you're not as scared to lose. Correct. When you're comfortable and in that safe, you know, relationship where you're like, I'm not scared of losing my mom or my dad, like losing that relationship. So we could have those extremely volatile screaming matches where we would hurt each other because I wasn't worried about losing them, versus, you know, I wouldn't have the same fight with, you know, one of my friends, because they could be like, fuck this isn't worth it, you were super mean to me, we're not going to be friends anymore. Right. And you have that same sense of security in a relationship up to a certain point of, well, we can fight and argue like this, and like, you're not going to leave me, what are you going to do, like walk away? No. But when you're not in that relationship anymore, you can approach it so much more calmly, because they could walk away. They already have. You're not together. Right. You could lose them. And so, of course, you're going to approach it more calmly. But I feel like if you get back into that relationship, not you, Shar, but just the general you, if people get back in those relationships, it's going to be volatile again.
Yeah.
It just will. Like, that's just the nature of how it goes. So, like, fighting in a relationship and fighting outside of it are two very, very different conversations, even if it's the same point of contention. Any closing thoughts on wrath?
You know, I want to say that if someone has angry outbursts, let them get it out. Like, if it's on you, that's a different story. But some people cope differently, and that's one thing I learned from my relationship, is that he would do things that I would never see myself doing, and that's okay. So I think, like, when it comes to wrath, like, understand how people cope and respect that. But, like, if you get involved in the situation and it starts harming you, that's a different story. Yeah. But never think that, oh, like, if, like, because when I hear your story and, like, he, like slammed the door, like, okay, he just copes with his feelings that way, and, like, that's something he needs to figure out. But I would never, like, shame someone for that.
But I would also say, like, there were other times before that argument completely where he would, like, there was one time where he just kind of, like, punched a door. And none of his anger was directed towards me. And so at the time I was like, all right, that was a little, like, scary, a little inappropriate.
Red flag.
Not sure that you needed to do that. But I had the same thought. That's how you need to get your anger out. That's how you need to cope. He didn't touch me. It's fine. We'll move on with it. But over time, eventually, clearly, that physical anger, that need to get his anger and his feelings out physically was eventually towards me.
Yeah.
So I think it's a really fine line, and I do agree with the fact that everyone deals with their feelings and their anger, especially in different ways. But if you notice that your partner, male or female, is having a lot of physical outbursts or just like irrational anger outbursts, it's definitely something that you should be cautious of, because it can change like so quickly.
Oh yeah.
You know, because that was, like I said, that was what I always told myself. You know, he's been physical, but it was never towards me. Yes, he's an angry person, but it has never been towards me in that way until it was. And at that point, it's almost too late.
Oh yeah. And like, there's a difference between having angry outbursts and being like, I need to go yell into a pillow, or I need to take a second away from you to calm down, and being physical and having, you know, punching a door, or not being able to control their anger and, you know, process it. Because I feel like your ex, he never processed his anger. He just got it out and was like, okay, that's over. Correct. But he never processed the emotions that led to that anger. And if you're experiencing that, or your partner is, like, they should get professional help, because it can only get worse. It won't get better unless you get the help and you can understand those emotions that are leading to those angry outbursts. Because like everyone processes it differently, but like some people just don't process it at all, which is super not healthy. And don't let it slide. Like, talk to them or end it. Yeah.
And after we broke up, I was like, hey bud, you should go to therapy.
And he didn't. He did not.
He didn't.
There's no way.
Nope. So
all right, and that, my friends, is the end of my section.
7 dating sins.
Woohoo.
All right, and we're to my section. Okay, we are playing on this fine night. Would you rather 7 sin style? All right. Would you rather date someone who shows jealousy or laziness?
These are going to be hard.
Jealousy. I can deal with jealousy.
Jealousy. Ding, 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 ding.
Jealousy.
Okay. I'm going to stop that. I'm annoying myself. Would you rather date someone who is selfish or always wants more from you?
Oh, fuck. Isn't that the same thing?
I was going to say they're kind of similar.
No, because they were 2 different sins.
Okay.
Wants more from you is gluttony.
I would rather
Selfish
do someone who
envy, I believe.
who is selfish.
Yeah, because if I'm always trying to please them, like, no, but I can deal with someone who's selfish but like satisfied.
Right. Because I have a little bit of a selfish bone.
No, I'm going for someone who wants more from you. I cannot deal with a fucking selfish bitch.
You've already done that, but okay.
Yep, I've lived it. That's why I know I don't want it. All right, would you rather date someone who has angry outbursts or is disrespectful?
Fuck them. Neither.
Yeah.
I can't.
Can you do a
No,
neither?
there is no neither.
Well, I just made it. Option C.
Yeah, I really don't want either.
No.
I would say disrespectful.
I've had both in my ex.
Guys, it's fucking would you rather.
Okay,
If there's
I would
neither
do
option,
disrespectful
I would
because
choose
angry
that.
outbursts I do not tolerate.
Disrespectful.
I don't tolerate disrespect, but like that's more manageable, I guess.
Yeah.
My reasoning.
Begrudgingly.
I want angry outbursts because sometimes they're hot.
No.
That's
unhealthy,
No,
Charlotte.
sometimes they are.
No.
I am the definition of unhealthy.
Not a true angry outburst. It's not hot. It's dangerous.
Not cute.
I thought they were hot.
Charlotte's super problematic.
That's true. She needs to go to therapy.
Genuinely. She needs to... Never mind.
Anyway, would you rather date someone who is lazy or has angry outbursts?
Lazy. Yeah. I will pick anything over angry outbursts.
I would take the angry outbursts.
My God, Charlotte.
Why are you
I actually
fucking
would, I would
worst?
lose my shit if they were lazy. I would never want to be with them.
Okay.
Would you rather date someone who is selfish or lazy?
Selfish.
Lazy? Probably.
Okay. You're weird.
I mean, my ex could be very lazy, but he wasn't selfish.
Over here like, okay. Sure.
Would you rather date someone who gaslights or always wants more from you?
Always wants more from me. I can't. No, gaslighting literally makes me a crazy person.
But it would be fun to like get all that anger out on somebody.
I would agree with
like,
you.
You want to fucking listen to this shit?
Yeah, it's like fun for like a while.
No, obviously none of these are long-term relationships.
That's fair.
What was M's answer?
Wait, what was it? Gaslighting or what?
Ew.
Selfish?
Or
always wanting more
from you.
Oh, yeah, that one.
Probably always wanting more, but...
Yes.
Would you rather date someone who shows jealousy or angry outbursts?
Jealousy. Always anything over angry outbursts.
Correct.
I would take jealousy on this one.
Proud of you.
Finally.
Would you rather date someone who is lazy or selfish?
Probably lazy.
Probably lazy, I think, yeah.
Fortunately. Selfish.
They're both like not the worst, you know?
Yeah. Like kind of middle ground.
I agree. Good day. Thanks for coming.
Good day.
Thanks for coming to our TED Talk.
Thank you for coming to our game show on Babes and Bad Decisions. It's been great having you tonight. I'll see you next Wednesday at 2 a.m.
All right, y'all. Thanks so much for listening. You can find us on Instagram at Babes and Bad Decisions and on Twitter at BABD Podcast. Email us now at babesandbaddecisions@gmail.com. And you can also find all of our episodes and our videos on our YouTube channel. Just search Babes and Bad Decisions Podcast. If you like us and want to support us, please take the time to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. And check out our Patreon at patreon.com/babesandbaddecisions. All right, Em, what's our outro phrase for today?
Deadly sins? 7 of them? Holy shit.
More likely than you think. All right, y'all. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye, gaslighters.